All right, grade nines, we need to talk about slope. Now, as you already know, slope is basically the steepness of the line. And when we talk about slope, if we understand it well, we can use slope to discover the equation of a linear line, or a linear graph. So let's get into it. So first of all, here's a Cartesian plane, we know that. I've plotted 2 points and I've drawn a line. There are 2 key points we're going to be looking at here. The first one is point number 1, and we want to take a look at the exact coordinates for that. And we know that this is x and this is y, and we always start with x when we're looking for coordinates. So this point, if we move over 3 spaces to here and then up 5, this is 3 on the x-axis and 5 on the y-axis. And our second point, which is point number 2, that is going to be -3 and -2. So far, so good, right? Now, how do we find the slope using a graph? If I'm giving you this as a question and I say to you, find the slope of this line, then what we want to do is remember this formula. Slope is equal to rise over run. So when we talk about rise, I always say the sun rises before I go for a run. And when we're talking about rise is the vertical nature. The sun goes up. So rise is always the y-axis and the run is always the x-axis. Like I said, the sun rises before I go for a run. So the sun has to come up, and that's the y-axis. And then I go for a run on the ground, which is the x-axis. Now, to find rise over run, all we're going to do is count. Now, I've put these 2 key points in so that we count just like this. So we start at point number 2 in this case. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's my rise. The rise in this case is 7 on the y-axis. It's gone up 7 places. And now I'm going to go over to the run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the rise is 7 and the run is 6. Now that's easy enough to look at for sure. But if you're taking a closer look at it, you can see that this part of the graph went down -2 there, so it went 2 spaces. And this part of the graph went up 5 spaces because it was at the number 5, right, on the y-axis. So we can add those 2 together and get 7. And the same would be true on the x-axis. This part of the line started right about at the 3, and it went back to 0, so that's +3. And then from here to here was another 3 spaces, +3 again. So these 2 numbers equal my 6, and these 2 numbers give me my 7, which is rise over run, 7 over 6. Pretty straightforward when we're looking at a line that way. Now, the next thing you're going to see is that you're going to take that information and you're going to find another way to find it. So on the next part of the video is the second part where I don't give you a graph. Instead, I give you some numbers and you got to find the slope with just the 2 coordinates. But in order to do that, you need to understand that the y is on top, the rise, and the x is on the bottom. So this is just the first step. The next thing you're going to want to watch is how to find the slope of a line with 2 points.